Hello, I'm Kristi Mumm, and I'm sorry that I could not attend in this seminar today, but I'm going to talk about my presentation, and the topic of my presentation is Assessment for Learning and ICT in Higher Education. And first of all, the aspects that I'm going to talk about. What is Assessment for Learning? What are the advantages of ICT in Assessment for Learning? And what are the different ICT methods in Assessment for Learning? First of all, let's see, what is Assessment for Learning? The topic of my thesis is also Assessment for Learning in Higher Education. And first of all, I would like to define you what it is. Different researchers have used different terms when talking about assessment for learning. For example, formative assessment and learning-oriented assessment. And what is, for example, formative assessment? Formative assessment is interested in how judgments about the quality of student performance can be used in order to improve the student's competence. But as it is seen in this definition, different researchers usually emphasize only the aspect of feedback. Although feedback is an important aspect in assessment for learning, there are also other aspects that need to be emphasized. In my research, I use the definition of Sample and her colleagues, and the term is assessment for learning, and it is followed by the idea that there are no boundaries between assessment, teaching, and learning, as all these three components are integrated. And the main principles of the assessment for learning are seen in this figure also, and these are authentic assessment tasks, balancing a summative and formative assessment, and also, of course, formal feedback and also informal feedback, for example, feedback from peers. And also, assessment for learning emphasizes the self-review and self-regulation skills. So it helps to develop students as self-assessors and effective lifelong learners. What are the advantages of computer-aided assessment for learning? There are different advantages of CAA. For example, it gives students an opportunity to practice wherever they like and as much as they like. And it also provides students with instant feedback. Lecturers can set more homework, but they have little effort on marking. And it also helps to develop students as self-regulative learners. So come to think, different researchers have emphasized the advantages of computer-aided assessment for learning. And now I'm going to talk about different environments of ICT when talking about assessment for learning. First of all, a test environment called hot potatoes. There's also this illustration about hot potatoes. What are the advantages of hot potatoes as a test environment for assessment for learning? This is based on the research of Miller, and he emphasizes that hot potatoes give students an opportunity to re-answer the incorrect responses. It also provides students an opportunity to repeat the whole assessment, and they can attempt this test countless times. This means that the number of attempts is not limited. It also helps to develop students' self-regulation skills. But the question is, are there any disadvantages? Um, and I can tell you that there are, and Miller points out some aspects. Um, First of all, hot potatoes does not provide an opportunity to record the students' answers. So this means that the number of attempts, the time of completing the assessment. Also, students in this research pointed out that it was quite easy to manipulate with these answers just to receive a better score. What is more, some students declared that they started to memorize these answers. And even one student pointed out that true and false assignments, they were quite useless because when choosing an incorrect answer, it is quite clear that the other answer is right. Um, so it still seems that students emphasize the role of grades and points and getting a better score. However, I think that hot potatoes could be one environment that good teachers use when talking about assessment for learning and ICT. And now about blogs for assessment for learning. How do blogs support students' learning in the context of assessment for learning? First of all, blogs provide opportunities for interaction and also support students' collaboration. And the aim of giving feedback is not just to criticize, but to help each other to understand the topic. What is more, using blogs as part of assessment for learning helps students to focus more on the importance of learning rather than just on tests. Blogs also provide opportunities for informal learning. It means that learning from peers. And blogs help students to support their self-regulation skills. So blogs create reflective practice to students. They can reflect about their own studying and also reflect about the comments that they have received from their peers. And now some thoughts about the usage of clickers and wikis as a method of assessment for learning. There's also an illustration about clickers here. Stahl brought out that clickers provide students with instant feedback, and this instant feedback means feedback to students as well as to teachers so that they could understand the extent to which the students have acquired the material. And so I think that clickers are quite reasonable method to use in a lecture. But also the researchers have pointed out some limitations when using clickers. For example, so the study, the research that I read pointed out that clickers had more impact for students who had initially moderate interest in the course. But the students who had high initial interest found that clickers did not increase their understanding of the material. But despite this limitation, it can still be said that this technique of assessment for learning helps to improve teaching and learning also in higher education. And some aspects and thoughts about wikis. How do wikis support learning? First of all, wikis have this tracking function, which means that it enables the teachers to monitor students' progress and also the content and the time, for example, and the number of revisions that students have made. Wikis also provide opportunities for communication and collaboration with other students. And they also support organization skills. As it was said that wikis helped students to cooperate with their peers. However, the students also mentioned that although the peers gave quality feedback and the students really appreciated it, they also appreciated more teachers' feedback, as they found that um, teachers' opinion is more accurate and competent. Um, there could be also the reason that teachers were the ones who graded them. So it seems that the role of grades is still important. And finally, um, I would like to point out what is the main advantage of using ICT and assessment for learning. And I would like you to think about it. What do you think? It seems to me that ICT helps students to develop their self regulation skills, and also it provides instant feedback. Although there are some limitations that were previously also mentioned, I think that the advantages outweigh these disadvantages. Thank you very much for listening. I'm looking forward to your thoughts about this topic. All the best.